Hello, it's October 8th, 2024. My name is Joe Weston, and we're here for our monthly Global Heart Gathering. And I am currently sitting in the Netherlands in Amsterdam here with my Amsterdam peeps. Woohoo! Just did a big celebration for my birthday last week. And
Mhm.
Shelly was there, and Henk and Mika were there, and it was a really lovely time to spend there. And for those of you who know me, I'm sharing that information. For those of you who don't, who are just tuning in, this is a group at the moment. This space is for new people and old people, people who have been doing this practice for years and who are here for the first time, to cultivate community, to cultivate a heart-centered community, to be in alignment around finding grounding and centering in what's happening on the planet at the moment, and always with this idea of how can we cultivate a deeper level of fierce compassion and resilience to be of service in any way we can. And that we talk about this idea of creative social activism, that there's no one way to have an impact on the world, that every little action we do we don't know what the ramifications of that can be, how that affects one person, how that shifts their entire life in a certain way, and then how that affects the people that they're connecting with. And and it's interesting there was a specific theme I wanted to talk about, but it's just been interesting for me living in the US in Washington, D.C. For those of you who haven't heard of it, that's the capital of the United States. Um, and Amsterdam being my second home and being here for these celebrations, and but also feeling into every time I come back to Holland, can feel the subtle effects of what the war in the Ukraine is having on Europe, just in terms of people's morale, in terms of people's energy, nervous system dysregulation, the price of goods, things that are no longer available, how the politics here has become more polarized and less debate and more fighting. And I just want to share that there's a global wave happening in terms of that. And at the same time, there's a global wave of love and connection and unity that the media doesn't talk about, and that more and more people are stepping into. And I'm finding that no matter where I am in the world, people are being called to a higher level of presence, and whether they can find something to do to be of service or not, that a deeper call, that doesn't seem to be coming from a head place, but from a real soul place, an inspiration place. And I also want to honor October 8th, the day after October 7th, 1 year anniversary of the tragic events that happened in Israel by Hamas, and the tragic things that happened to Israelis and those who were in the area. Once again, to for the world to go into such a deep shock as to see what human beings can do to one another, and just mind blowing, that, and how we're constantly being reminded of the depths of which people can go to based on a lot of issues that are all, as I always say, are mental constructs. We can justify harming one another because we create a mental construct, a story about someone, and every story we create about someone, even a good story, if you create a story that leads you to, in a sense, labeling them or judging them or putting them into a category, then you've just taken more distance from them. And what I mean by distance is by how open is your heart to their heart. And that's the work we've been doing for years. That's the basis of my work. Occupy here, respectful confrontation, fierce civility. It's a very clear and powerful. These are powerful trainings to train you to be able to maintain your own sense of safety, nervous system regulation, and and which means that allows you to open your heart. And in uncomfortable situations, you should never open your heart in an unsafe situation. Never. That's just self-harm. But what if we could train ourselves with resilience and fierce compassion, that in uncomfortable situations, meaning in situations where we don't know what the outcome could be, where we're relating to people who are different or dealing with situations that are different, those inherently bring discomfort. But uncomfortable doesn't mean unsafe. And how can we train ourselves to still keep our hearts open? And what I say is the work that I do, and I've done this around the world, literally around the world in different kinds of communities, is what does it take to come from your heart and map map a path to the heart of the other. That's the work of our time. That's what I do, and where I'm able to work with people where people would normally people would say, Joe, that doesn't seem like a group of people that you could work with, or that that doesn't that I have sometimes think, how did I end up here? And I think it's coming from that genuine place and a true curiosity and courage and skill to be able to stay strong in my heart and find that map to the hearts of another. Now, sometimes that map can be very scary and daunting, that path, a lot of pain, a lot of fear, whatever. But that's where the skill comes in. And when we can map that, when we can engage from that place, then it's not possible for us to harm one another. It wouldn't even come up in our minds. It may sound really simplistic, and it is. When you are resonating from your heart, you're not doing harmful things. When you're connecting with someone from the heart, you can't possibly harm them. Maybe unconsciously, you might say a word or two. It's when we lose that connection that we unconsciously, without thinking of it, harm one another, or we learn to justify our actions. And I bring this up again, is that we're constantly reminded with current political figures in the United States and other parts of the world, how low we can go, in essence. And my question is, when have we learned that lesson? When is it enough, right? We don't need to learn it anymore. And I think we are getting it. And I think more and more people are realizing that's not the path I'm going to take. And what I think we offer is, well, then what is the alternative for them? Most people might think, I would love to be engaged somehow, but I don't know who to engage with. That's the key to connection, creating alliances in surprising places, which is an important aspect in the fierce civility work. So I want to honor that, the horrific crimes that happened on October 7th, and also the horrific things that have been happening in Gaza and other parts of the world, where the level of suffering, again, all based on justification. I can justify having children starve because in my head, I've created this whole thing that because this happened then and this happened then, or this might happen in the future, this seems like the most logical thing to do. And if you hear the word, it may seem logical from a intellectual, mental perspective, but there's no heart in that. There's no humanity in that. And so people often say, Joe, your ideas are so simplistic, they're so naive. And I say, they are simple. And many of you know for years what I say, the problems can be complex. The solutions are very simple. Implementing the simple solutions is hard work because it requires us to go within and realize, how are we contributing to the complications, to the problems and not the solutions. Another reason why we may not trust, it may be hard work to do the simple solutions, because we don't trust that because they're simple that they'll work, but they do. And I want to bring this up. I was looking at some reading something on the internet, and it reminded me of some of the initial research I was doing with Fierce Civility when I was trying to collect different kinds of traditions, philosophies, and religions that really advocated for ethics, for teaching people how to make ethical choices. And the Beatitudes, so it's a beautiful thing to look at. There's so many different things. The samurai vows that you take, the principles. But one that I was looking at that I found interesting was the principles, the values of Ma'at. Ma'at is an Egyptian goddess, goes back like around 4,000 to 5,000 years. And what has come out of the teachings and wisdom of Ma'at is the 42 principles. What do they call that? I want to get the right word. Ideals. So every tradition has a code of ethics, and every religion, that are really simple. But I'm bringing this up because of I find something interesting, and think about how things have played out in our current world. And this comes back to this idea of justice. And I've said recently in a talk how I totally believe that laws create crime. Laws create crime. And we see, and I'm not saying it's that simple, there's an aspect to that. What I mean by that is that when we set up laws and they seem restrictive to someone, they're going to try to find to get around the law, and that we don't really take responsibility for ourselves. We basically just try to make sure we don't get caught. So we spend a lot of time breaking the law, and that our real justification is to make sure we don't get caught, or we find ways to work around the laws. Just think about our current one of the people running for president in the United States, his whole like decades of figuring out how to use the justice system to get out of being penalized for things that he's done. Again, I don't think that's a judgment. I think that's an observation. That's an assessment. That's just clarifying back what you can study and see in decades of history. And the reason why, so I want to bring this up because the way that these ideals are worded, I think are really pertinent. And I'm curious to know if you hear that as well. And I'll bring up three different things because there's also in Buddhist and Buddhist traditions and a lot of Eastern philosophies, you have vows. You don't have laws, you have vows. In Judeo-Christian traditions, you have laws. And in the Ma'at tradition, these are ideals. So this is the way they're usually written out. I'm going to read all three and just try to see from an experience of not necessarily what the words are, but how they impact you, the way they're worded. So this is all about stealing, right? So pretty much every tradition would basically say, it's not a good idea to steal. You might want to refrain from stealing. In a Buddhist vow, what you hear is, I commit to refrain from stealing. I commit to refrain from stealing. That's one perspective about the same thing. The Judeo-Christian one is, thou shalt not steal. And the ideal from Ma'at is, I have not stolen. So there's something really powerful about all of the 42 ideals are coming from a place of something that someone can take a moment, be objective, and say, I haven't done that. And I think that that's where this idea comes of where laws create crimes. You know, the thou shalt not steal, I believe, and words create culture. Language creates culture, culture creates language. So just listen to the cultural aspect of thou shalt not steal. In essence, for me, what that means is that it's saying that there's some larger force that's watching you and making sure that you do good or bad. And if you don't, you're going to be penalized. So we put our power outside of ourselves and fear a larger force or a law enforcement or whatever it might be, and we give our power away. We don't have to take any personal responsibility. We just have to make sure that we don't get hurt or penalized by that force outside of us. So if we don't want to get hurt by that force or outside of us, we don't steal. or we try to steal and don't get caught. The Buddhist and the more Eastern way is I commit to refrain from stealing. There's self-empowerment in that. There's self-agency in that. I am choosing not to steal, which I think is missing in thou shalt not steal. It's like you don't have to take any, there's no personal agency. And imagine a culture where everyone truly adhered to that, where I will refrain from stealing, then you don't need a law, in essence. But I think there's even something more powerful to be able to say, I have not stolen. There's a celebration in that. There's an acknowledgement and an empowerment in that to be able to look back at the end of the day and say, stealing could have been an option. I chose not to do it. And I believe that that is, Ma'at is a goddess, right? It's a female, uh, and she is the goddess according to ancient. This is going back 4,000, 5,000 years. The goddess of order and truth and justice and balance. There's something in the feminine principle about that. It's not about men or woman. It's about there's a receptivity in that. There's a sense of there's love in that. There's compassion in that. And for me, this is important. This comes back to what I'm saying is that when we're living in a culture that has been dominated by thou shalt not steal, where we fear an outside force that's punitive. There's a four-legged. Then we create these mental constructs of I can justify harming, not feel guilty, not have to take ownership about it, because based on a religion or an ideology or nationalism or whatever it might be, I have the edict to do harm, because that is what I believe my mandate should be. And I see that not only with terrorist groups or with groups or with in war, but even in activists and protesters, that there's or people who feel that they have been wronged, that there's a sense of I have the right to harm you because I feel that I have been harmed. And I'm not saying that I have a specific judgment about that. I probably do, but that's not the point here. The point is for us to get a more subtle idea of what is justice. Is justice even necessary? What would come in its place if this idea of, fighting for justice? What do you get when you get justice? Because oftentimes justice, like I just said, means someone has to get harmed. I have something to fight. Does anybody want to share an idea that you might have with that? Or
You're so on point with some things I've been thinking about, although I'll twist it just a little.
sure.
I'm finding that in the Christian community that I've kind of been hanging in, I feel like people give up their responsibility to take care of the planet. And I've been seeing lots of posts and hearing lots of comments about Trump being the plan for the end of the world, and all this flooding and all this war going on means Jesus is coming. And I feel like they're rationalizing away their responsibility to be advocates or change makers or do something. And I feel like it's coming out of their fear and overwhelm from all that's going on.
Yeah.
And I
I mean,
wonder when Mahat's teachings changed from being an internal thing 3,000 years ago to the Jewish Ten Commandments and then the Christian Beatitudes. When did it change to becoming a directive rather than an internal thing? Was it, that's fascinating to me.
yeah. I think it is fascinating. I think it's fascinating to track. I mean, one way I would say is that if you look historically, it's, if you go back further, 5,000 years and further, there were a lot of matriarchs. It was or more of an equal sense of matriarchy and patriarchy. I don't know that to be, I can't say that that is definitively true, but there is an argument for that. What evolved was a more patriarchal system. And I think we're seeing that shifting now. I think that's part of what we're seeing is people wanting to hold on to this patriarchal idea, and a sense of toxic masculinity seems to be the thing that they want to hold on to, and a fear of the feminine principle. Again, not man or woman, but simply a more emerging system, a more evolving system, a more collective system, more compassionate, more space for risk taking, or more a sense of having the courage to connect with people that are different.
More
Teaching people
internal, as
more internal.
Ursula Le Guin, I've been reading some of her work. She talks about the feminine principle being more internal and in darkness sometimes versus the
Yeah,
masculine, which tends to be like on the outside and external.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think we need to all be looking more internally at ourselves, which is why I like what you teach.
I hear. Yeah, thank you. And I appreciated the way you approached it, Lou. I didn't hear a lot of judgment in what you were saying. I didn't hear a lot of, I just felt that you were sharing, and you felt you also sharing your confusion and frustration, but giving them the benefit of the doubt, that they're coming from a place of fear. And I think that is that I would see it the same way. And I find your point interesting, is that when you are caught, the more you're caught up in the mental constructs, the more you can distance yourself, your heart and compassion from what is happening around you. So yes, if you're caught up in this mental construct that you believe what the Bible has to say, then you're not concerned with climate change. That's not on your radar. That's not that, or you can justify why the weathers on the planet are shifting to fit into your paradigm. Yeah. Anybody else? Cindy, it's great to see you. Very nice to see you here.
Thank you, Joe. Nice to be here. My computer finished updating, or I would have been on time.
Okay.
In my Buddhist tradition, it is the vow is part of that is being satisfied with what I have. I take up the way of not stealing.
Right.
So for me, that first part helps me orient to, oh, how am I dissatisfied with what I have, maybe? And how
Yeah.
am I stealing coming from that place? So it's, for me, it just helps the map of how do I get out of the mindset of stealing.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. And I think, yeah, if I'm content with what I have, then I wouldn't even think of stealing.
Mm.
If I cultivate that and I have enough, then there's no need to steal. Yeah.
Right. And I can have generosity toward whatever
Yeah.
from that place. When I have enough, I'm not guarding whatever my resources are, emotional, financial, whatever. I can
Yeah.
share.
Yeah. Beautiful. Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I never thought about it, but when you mentioned the 10 commands,
Commandments. Yeah.
commandments, yes, it's a list of things I might do. And that makes me think about it.
Yeah.
When I don't want to steal, in the list there is you're not. Yeah. So it triggers me to try. Can I
All right.
steal a little bit?
Yeah.
Can I play with it without
Yeah.
living over the rules?
Yeah.
When it
Yeah.
comes out of myself, I even think I wouldn't say I haven't stolen because I don't think of stealing today.
Right. Right. Yeah. I love that. And that's what I'm saying. Laws create crimes. It's like,
Yeah.
don't go in that room. Whatever you do, don't go in that room.
You go in that
Don't
room.
go in that room. Right.
And when
Yeah.
I hear your voice, whoa, you raise up. 10 centimeters and
Right.
you become above me.
Powerful.
And
more
you have
control.
that finger.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
That's triggering
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Well, I know you, Mika. If anyone tells you to do something, you're definitely going to do it anyway. I know
Yes.
that. So, and you're
At
you're
least I
allowed.
try.
And you're allowed. You're allowed. You're allowed. Yeah. Yeah. It's and and it's treating people like children, right? There's that sense of thou shalt not steal. Like you're a child and I'm telling you what to do. And that's again putting the power outside as opposed to self-agency. Barbara.
Although it sounds like somewhere in here is temptation.
Yeah.
And where does that fit in this construct?
I think it goes along with what we're saying is that, the example I give is driving the speed limit. I think it's silly, personally. I personally, and it might be my teenage New Yorker that's angry that someone's telling me how fast I can drive. I have a real problem with it because I feel like I'm a responsible driver. I'll know when I'm driving too fast, and when it's appropriate to drive slower, I will. I don't need someone to tell me, and especially in the DC area where it's so slow, the speed limits are so low. It's insane, drives me insane. But I always go over. Everyone always goes over. So there is that sense of playing, and you're just always looking around. Now you can have apps where it can tell you if there's a cop or something there, or if there's a speed thing. So we've created now a system where you can have apps that will help you break the law in a sense. What are we doing? So, and I think there is, I think that, did you want to say more about the temptation thing, Barbara, or anyone else?
I think the people who do run red lights and drive when pedestrians are crossing the street are in a category, Joe, that makes me want to enforce the law. I want them to have consequences. They could have, and sometimes do, injure and kill. And I drive by a bicycle that's painted white, which in the United States, in some places, is done to memorialize a person who was killed by a car while riding a bicycle.
Right.
And it's there as a reminder. So how do I reconcile these are people who are not self-regulating?
Right. Well, I think of course there have to be laws, right? So there have to be consequences for behavior. And that's what you're saying, that there are people who are just, there's no impunity. There's no sense of remorse or whatever. And they just do it because it's what they want. And that is dangerous. I think the point that I'm trying to make is what happened in that person's upbringing that they run red lights and have no regard for other. That's it, that they have no regard for the law. And what was missing in their upbringing to teach them self-agency and to teach them that words, thoughts, and actions have consequences. So I'm not saying excluding laws, but I'm just saying that it's the question is what happened to that person where there's such a lack of attachment to the well-being of another that they have no remorse running a red light.
I have to just sort of laughingly and not laughingly say that there's the other side of that is the bicyclists and the pedestrians who seem to be purposefully trying to make a statement by riding and walking in places that are significantly dangerous. And I see that all over where I've lived here in Idaho. And
Yeah.
I almost feel like there's a battle going on between those that run the lights and hit the pedestrians and the bicyclists and those who are riding and walking on purpose outside of where they should
Yeah.
be.
Right.
So it's another battle almost more than just one side or the other. It's like both sides are seeing each other as enemies.
Yeah.
A lot of those pedestrians are tuned out with earbuds. So
Yeah.
they don't have
Yeah.
any context.
Yeah.
They don't look and they don't hear.
Right. That's a whole, don't get me started on that. That's a whole other conversation.
I
But
saw a
but
kid riding one of those, what do they call them? The electric skateboards, all in black down the middle of a street. I'm like, what does she expect?
yeah. Yeah. But I think what the point you're making is that, again, even something as not simple, but something as day to day, daily, as riding a bicycle or driving a car has been turned into a battle, right? Is that we're so wired for battle. And that comes from, I believe, I can, justice. I'm justified in my actions because I feel I need to make a point, and those people need to suffer, or they need to, because I'm right. That all comes down to how we can, for me, the word justice simply is justification. And that,
And rules.
and rules. And my side of the fight is worth fighting. And there are fights to fight, or I would not, that's not true. I can't believe I just said that. There are things to get engaged with, to change fiercely. But as I always say, fighting a system only feeds that system and creates more fight. So yeah, so let's take this into our practice, see where that takes us, and then if we have more to discuss, let's do. I appreciate the comments. So as always, we sit in a way where we're cultivating in this practice. Oh, I think I wanted to also say that this has a lot to do with how do we, because my whole thing is, if we all have great ideas, right? We all have great ideas. And if just having the ideas would have solved our world problems, they would have been solved already. So what is it going to take for us to take these brilliant and wonderful and compassionate and visionary ideas and put them into action? And I think that's where I come into this vows thing is, what's the best way for us to take this into action from a punitive place or from a place of celebration of making sure that all of our thoughts, words, and actions are in alignment with our core values, our true values, and literally celebrate that. So the things we do are coming from a deeper place of purpose. And if our core values are in alignment, or things like compassion and love and family and community, then we know that our thoughts, words, and actions, every one of them, when in alignment with those values, is creating some sense of benefit to others as well as yourself. So in a sense, this practice we do is always, how do we take these ideas and these themes, and how do we take them into our bodies, and how do we cultivate that fierce compassion and resilience so that we can feel more courageous and equipped and powerful to have the impact we want to have. And we've heard many stories from you in this community of ways in which you have, with a taxi driver or a neighbor or whomever. All right, so in a sense, bringing in the practice, we're sitting in a way where we can cultivate the most balance, presence, awareness, balance, and flow in the body. And so that your spine is straight without being rigid. You're elongating from the back of your neck, tucking in your chin a little bit. So you're really elongating all the way up through the top of your head, feeling the gravity pulling you down towards the ground. Relax your jaw, relax your shoulders, relax your belly. Power sit. Bringing your attention to a place in your lower body, your core, your center, which is approximately the width of 3 fingers below your navel and 1/3 of the way into the body from the front of the body. So placing that attention, the width of 3 fingers below your navel and 1/3 of the way into the body. Trying to see if you could put your full attention on that spot, your center of gravity, impulse, personal power, and wisdom and perception. Wisdom, funny. Awareness. So training yourself to experience your reality through not just how you think about your reality or feel your reality, but really be aware of your reality in your lower belly right now. From that place of awareness, come in contact with your contact points, the parts of your body that are connecting with what you're sitting on and the ground. Feeling those parts of the body, feeling the stability under you, the ground and the chair. When you can feel that stability, then it might be easier for you to allow yourself to be held. Let the chair and the ground completely support your weight and all of you, who you are. Feeling the earth beneath you, tapping into this sense of Mother Earth, planet itself, the sacred spot that you are inhabiting at this moment with gratitude. And using this practice to come more into the present moment from your center now, starting with yourself, become aware of your physical body. Listening to your physical body, the wisdom of your physical body. From your center, become aware of your emotional body. What emotions are you present to? Without judgment, simply giving your body, your emotional self, the space to express and be. From your center, become aware of your mental body, your thoughts, or the quality of your thoughts. How loud are your thoughts at this moment? Maintain a connection with your core, your place of personal power. Now bringing awareness to the middle of your chest, your heart center, where your heart power resides, compassion, respect, your core values. From your center and from your heart, connecting with a part of you that has connection to something larger than yourself. So in this moment, from your center and from your heart, from this part of you, become aware of what is your connection in this moment to something larger than yourself. And allow yourself to have that experience, or whatever that is. Connection with the earth, connection with that which is larger than yourself. And from your center and from your heart, allowing that sense of self in this moment radiate out into your personal space, out to your personal boundaries. In all directions, feeling your personal space behind you and above you, all directions. And resting in that sense of self. And with that resting in that sense of self, take a full deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Building on your awareness of this present moment from your center now and your heart, become aware of your surroundings without needing to look at your surroundings, simply noticing, sensing the space around you with sounds and smells, light, temperature. To a relationship now with your surroundings. And with that awareness of self and surroundings from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. Building on that from your center and from your heart, become aware of those in this meditation circle. Those who are currently on the World Wide Web with us, some those who might be with us holding space on their own around the world. And in this moment, what does it feel like? What's the experience of from your center and your heart connecting with these people? Can you feel the mapping of your heart to their heart? And with that awareness of self, surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Now expanding that, holding on to that connection with this meditation circle and your surroundings and self. Now from your center and from your heart, become aware of all human beings, beginning with those human beings you would label loved ones. And who instantly arises in your heart when you think of loved ones, the mental construct of loved ones? Just your projection. It's your story. Which people do you put in that category? How many people can you hold in your heart at this moment that you would call loved ones? And can you, with all of them, as you sit or stand face to face with them from your heart, map your pathway to their hearts? Is it an easy path? Is there a lot of thorns along the way? Does it require a little bit of skill, a little bit of juggling and dancing? Martial arts? And as you consider, as you connect with these people now to just that you call loved ones, to just think, I have not stolen from them in this moment. I didn't murder them in this moment. I didn't lie about them in this moment or to them. In this moment, I didn't do any of that. And any other things that you can think of in the Ten Commandments or vows or whatever. As you maintain connection with them and track your thoughts. Did I have a thought of wanting to murder them? And the constant celebration and of when saying, in this moment, I didn't do any of that. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. Now moving on to strangers, thinking about who you put in your category of strangers. How many can you hold in your heart? Groups of people or individuals? Close by, neighbors, people you saw on the bus, see in social media or the news or newspapers, people you imagine in various parts of the world. How many strangers can you hold in your heart? And as you stand face to face with them, just tapping into where you are in your heart and what map do you need to create a pathway to connect with their hearts. I don't want to think of one stranger, or even though you may have many. And you may not get to your end destination where you actually engage with their heart, but to just be thinking in that way for every person you encounter, what's the journey from my heart to theirs? And am I willing to take that journey? And also to just think in my thoughts, words, and actions, in this moment, I did not lie to them. I may not have caused them harm if I didn't acknowledge that in this moment. And from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those human beings you would label adversary. And who arises in your heart? What faces do you see? How many can you hold in your heart? On the same practice, if you're standing or sitting face to face, connecting from your heart, what is the pathway to their heart? Let's just say, for the sake of the exercise, that it's safe enough for you to experiment. What would the map look like with them or with one of them? How far can you get on that journey? And again, you may never get your final destination, but just to consider that there must be a pathway from your heart to theirs. Doesn't mean you have to take the walk. And to consider in this moment, were any of my thoughts, words, and actions harmful to them? Did I think about wanting to kill them? Did I think about wanting to hurt them? Did I hurt them? Did I lie to them? And if you haven't, then to celebrate that. I can stand face to face with my adversary and I did not cause harm. And with this aware, and now staying in connection with yourself, your surroundings, those in this meditation circle, and now all human beings, considering all human beings now, and just as you're now holding on to the number of human beings you're holding in your heart, just imagine now activating that with all human beings. Imagine if every human being, that this was part of their routine, just like with being potty trained, toilet trained, and learning how to walk, and learning how to drive a car, that they were taught the skills of connecting from their heart and always seeking out a map to the heart of another. See, each and every human being spontaneously and joyfully connecting with the hearts of others. Joyfully and spontaneously thinking in each moment, could I have possibly harmed someone at this moment? And if I didn't, what a celebration. And just for yourself, just feel what the results of that would be. How would people show up? Hold that image as you now take a full deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And holding on to all human beings and their connections with each other. Now I'll let them all to flow in your heart as you bring your connection back to those in this meditation circle. Just share that with each other, the connection with each other. Allow those in this meditation circle to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to your surroundings. Allowing your surroundings to flow in your heart as you bring your awareness back into yourself, your heart, connection with yourself. And take a moment now from your heart to chart the path from your heart to your heart, to all parts of you. And to check in this moment, have I in any way harmed myself? Did I murder myself? Did I think of murdering myself? Did I lie to myself? And as a way to close this practice, well, no, allow all of the energy of this to flow into all parts of your body, into your cells, activating your cells, into your nervous system to remember this, into your organs to nurture, into the part of you, your will and conviction to maybe consider practicing this in a more concrete way. And when you feel complete, take a full breath, deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Slowly open your eyes. Connect with the space, shake your body, stretch. So as always, we started with a reflection, with a motivation. We did our practice. Now we have a chance to reflect for a few minutes, and then we'll close. Does anybody have any reflections based on the practice or anything else you wanted to add from our discussion?
Yes, I like to say something.
Mhm.
Well, I'm not visible. Yes, now I am.
Okay.
Once I worked in a school, and there was a big line in the, how you call it, where you can eat all together. And
Cafeteria.
yes, and there was a line, everything is allowed here. And all the things that are not allowed, your healthy brain will say it to you. I loved it. We hardly had to correct someone. What does your, does that word, is it common sense in English? Or I like the word a healthy brain. Hoe zeg je dat? Je gezond verstand.
No, it's not healthy brain. It's common sense in a sense. Yeah.
Okay. You have your own common
Verstand
sense.
is understanding, healthy understanding or common sense. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And then you know what you don't do. I liked it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Anyone else?
I just, and I don't mean to take up a bunch of time, but when we do that meditation and we're connecting our hearts to people, I have found that I have to really connect to some kind of quantum field or positive energy and let that flow through me, because alone I feel very vulnerable with some of the anger that's being poured out these days. And it's painful to connect to it, even though I want to be loving. So I have to be very, very careful and protect myself. And I don't want to have to protect myself. So
Yeah.
I join up to that broader feeling of goodness, however you describe it. And then I can feel it flowing to other people. And I hope that it will influence the way I communicate when I'm dealing with people that are extremely angry. And I had a recent experience with a breakfast group when I was excited about the new candidate and somebody just blew up at me. And it's just really painful to be myself in this environment right now.
Let's all take a breath for that. Let's all take a breath for that. Thank you, Lou. First of all, thank you for sharing what you're experiencing. This is the space for it. So thank you. Can I offer some suggestions? Yeah. First of all, I admire the fact that you have a strategy for self-care, right? So that's a strategy for self-care. So yay. I would also say that you consider that this, what you're saying, this higher thing that you're of goodness that you're tapping into to flow through you, it's you. It's not anything other than you. So explore that. It's just another way that you're creating a mental construct of you. Trust that it's you, and that trust that that you're more powerful than you may think. That if it's external and outside of you, it's you, and at the same time, it could come from your heart as well. And there's power there. Play with that, and that in this practice, either when you're doing it here with us, or if you're doing this on your own, I would recommend that you all be doing this on a regular basis, not just once a month. That you have permission to let the anger be there and let the fear be there, because it's here that's safe, where you can practice, to allow yourself to be in that vulnerable place and know that we understand that you're in a practice and that we're here to hold you. Yeah. Does that resonate? Does that make sense for all of you? Yeah. We're here to practice. So if that's something you feel like you need to do, please do. Thank you. One more and then we'll close. Okay, so couple of announcements. If you haven't bought your Occupy Here t-shirt yet, please do. And holidays are coming up, so everybody should have one of these. The website is occupyhere.com. I don't know if Claudine is still there. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Claudine. Please pass that on. We're trying to get as many people as possible to get a t-shirt before the elections in the US and to actually when you go to vote, to have this t-shirt on. To spread the message that vote from your heart, not from your fear. And check it out. That's the Occupy Your Heart movement, in a sense, and see what's there. Also, we're doing a weekend workshop in Northampton, Massachusetts, November 2nd and 3rd. So you can find it on the website. You can find information for that. And we'll be here again next month. The second Tuesday we'll be here. I think it'll be the week after the elections. Yeah, it'll be the week after the elections. So it'll be very interesting to show up here. If you're struggling with things, please get in touch, reach out. I'm saying that in the next few weeks, if you're struggling with things, please reach out. I can't promise that I have a lot of time, but I can do my best. And as always, the books are on sale, the Fierce Civility book, the Respectful Confrontation book, the TEDx talk. We just hit 3,000 viewers. So yay. So now get another 1,000 people to watch. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Barbara, you had your hand up?
Just to say, your offer in itself fills my heart.
And I mean it. I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. So it's what we need at this moment. So, all right. So the dedication I want to offer is that every human being on this planet, by this practice that we've done, at least that they can accomplish as soon as possible, as they can map the way from their heart to their own hearts, and to reawaken within them the best of who they are, the most loving and compassionate and caring of who they are. And may that radiate out and help us to just, with fierceness, cut through the confusion of the mental constructs that are keeping us in so much pain at the moment. And that people do vote, not only in the US, but in various places, that they vote from a place of wisdom and compassion, as opposed to fear and greed. Okay, thank you all. It's a joy to be with you. Cindy, it's wonderful to see you.
Thank
Olivia,
you.
it's
Wonderful to be here.
Yeah. Olivia, it's great to have you join us. And all of you take care, and
Goodbye.
we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.
See you later. Thank you all.